To Knicks Chicks family, welcome back to another episode. I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef, joined by my co-host today.
D-Blox 21, what's good?
Another day we get to talk about the Knicks. Lots to talk about today. Being at the Knicks, they're still without Brunson. The Knicks just went 1-1. They beat Dallas. I thought that was a pretty good game. It kind of reminded me of the wins that they had when they first lost Brunson, and I believe they beat Portland and Sacramento. The Knicks moved the ball well. I thought it was a pretty good game against Dallas. They beat them 113, 128. Granted, Dallas is shorthanded. And of course, there's typical fashion when a player who comes to the Garden wants to show, and Najee Marshall just went off. The man couldn't miss a basket, if you ask me. He had 38 points. He actually kept them in that game. And then they had Spencer Dinwiddie with 13. Brandon Williams had 22. Jaden Hardy had 15. And for the Knicks, OG Anunoby had a really, really good game. He was aggressive with 35 points in 38 minutes. Josh Hart and Karl Anthony Town both finished with triple doubles. They both finished with 12 points, 11 assists. Josh Hart finished with 16 points. Karl Anthony Towns with 26. Mikal Bridges had 21 points. I thought that was a good, effective game from him as well. And Precious Achiuwa seemed to have found his rhythm in that game. He seemed to have a little bit more pep in his step with 11 points. And Tyler Kolek, who only had 2 points but had 9 assists in 19 minutes, I thought him running a point was a good idea. I've already discussed that his defense is something that he has to work on, but I thought he had a solid game for the Knicks. His timing and decision making on the passes looked really good. Landry Shamet had 11 points as well. Stat wise, the Knicks was at 59% from the field goal. They were 10 for 26 from the 3-point line at 38%. Free throw lines. Knicks still have their struggles from the free throw line. I still feel like this may be a problem from them in the playoffs. They were 12 for 18 at 66%. They out rebounded Dallas 36 to 33. The Knicks had 40 assists in that game. That speaks volumes alone. Both teams finished with 9 steals. The Knicks did have 14 turnovers, and they had 76 points in the paint. What was your thoughts on that Dallas game?
I mean, I don't know where to start. There was so many great, players and just a lot of moving parts, and that was like great. Um, like I said, I don't know where to start because, you know, you could even start with Kolek, and although we're not dissecting the Wizards game, but just overall the last 3 games, this guy he's had like what's that 15 24 like assists and 1 turnover.
Yeah,
So like you could start with him. He did struggle in the Clippers game, which we'll talk about that, but I mean, again, OG, like this guy, he just I can't say he amazes you because like you always say, this is why he got paid the big bucks,
hmm
but he just steadily just keeps improving on the offensive end, defense as well, and just being able to stay on the floor,
right.
minimizing his fouls, because he see the sense of urgency, with JB out, so he has to pick up his offensive game, um, like Cat and Hart, Josh Hart, you get a great production out of him one game, maybe two, and he goes away, then he seems to divert from was what all he tried to overcompensate because he had such a great game or two, and then he seems like he just tries to do too much. Just play within your role and you'll be successful. But otherwise than that, like, man, that was a great win. You know,
Yes.
um, they did have that third quarter collapse. Remember the last season that was like one of their Achilles heel, but they were able to stay composed. Like, and I don't know if it was for a lack that they just like they had such a great lead or whatever, where they just pulled back. But again, they were just able to maintain their composure and got the win. I mean,
Yeah.
said, yeah, they were down bigs, but we didn't have Mitch. Um, And they did have those players listed. They just didn't play. Um, but hey, kudos to the Knicks. Just wish that would have translated to the next game. But hey, that's par for course.
Yeah, I think, what were your thoughts on seeing like, how do you feel about Kolick running the point versus having it be between Deuce and Payne? Who's your preference, or who you like running the point more and facilitating the ball while
Well,
Brunson is out?
because Kolek don't have that experience yet, so he got exposed in that Clippers game. And Payne, like he has that veteran, so I would love to see Kolek, play more. But to start, I think I would go with Payne, because he has that veteran, that experience under his belt. And but then again, like Kolek plays so great, and what it is, he has to look for his shot more. And then, like I said, he got exposed in that Clippers game, and he mentioned it, like this is an area he has to work on. So for now, I would love to see Payne and Deuce. We know he's not a true point. It's been said he's a catch and shoot type of guy. So I would go with Payne because of his veteran experience.
Yeah, I would go Cameron Payne, and then I would have Kolick as the backup point, and
For sure.
Deuce play his proper role in catch and shoot. Um, and I agree. I think Kolick is definitely going to work on those things in the offseason. And listen, I think the Knicks need to look to continue to give Kolick the opportunities that he's looking for, right? They did that with Deuce, and he's proved himself,
Yeah.
and he's still a work in progress and haven't hit his ceiling either yet. So I think with Kolick, he's got to work on his defense. He's got to look to hit his shots, because it's different when you playing in a G League versus when you playing in the NBA. It's a different type of guys you're playing. It's a different competitiveness. It's a different skill set level than it is on a G League. But I do agree. I think that Kolick needs to work on his defense and looking for his shot, because I think right now he's kind of in the mindset of like Deuce when he first had to run the point. He's so focused on facilitating the ball, giving guys the pocket passes and the bounce passes. But I'm a lot more comfortable seeing him run the point as the backup point than
Yeah.
I am for Deuce running the ball. So, again, and I think this is good because it's showing Tibbs that you got to give him a little bit more minutes come next season, and give him the opportunity to go out there and run the point.
Well, newsflash, he's going to be that starting point for the next game.
Yeah.
So now you really get to see. I think this is his first NBA start that he's going to get. Um, and we, the chat's been, even as fans, we wish that he would have gotten more playing time throughout the season, because now you throw him in such a position that he didn't do so well for the Clippers game. And so, that being a starting role, that's a lot on your shoulders. We saw what he did in college and just being those limited minutes. But now we're gonna really get to see what he's made of on what they play tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
At Milwaukee. So, and everybody's been, Cole needs to get more minutes, and I think that would have definitely prepared them for, a game like a Clippers game where you playing, the Clippers, they vying for jockeying for position.
Right.
So I just wish he would have gotten more playing time throughout the season.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think that that's something that, myself and some Knicks fans have been saying, is that you want to give Huck Porty and Kolick, and even there was calls for Pacome to get the minutes throughout the regular season whenever you can squeeze them in some minutes, and not just when the Knicks are up by 2025, because this way it prepares them for, if you have a man down situation from an injury, they're ready. And now he's being thrown into the fire. But you know what the difference is with Kolick? I think he can adjust more versus when Grimes had to be thrown in the fire. I see him adjusting more and fitting in with the guys. He can keep up with the pace. And I honestly, I want him to make the mistakes. I want him to get out there and get the experience. This is a good learning lesson for him why you don't have campaign in there, why you don't have Jalen Brunson. And I don't want to skimp over OG Ananobi because I think that if OG Ananobi wasn't available, whether it was injury or he wasn't on his team, I think that this Knicks team would truly be stinking up the joint and be awful. I mean, let's keep it real here. If OG doesn't play well for this team, you you now you put more pressure on Mikel, who hasn't really stepped up on a consistent, hungry, playing like that gritty. I mean, OG's just everywhere at the right place at the right time. And you continue to pray that he stays healthy, you
Yeah.
know. And again, there was a lot of backlash from fans saying, "Oh, well, oh, the Knicks pay OG all that money," and you and I were both in agreement. If he could give you at least 65 games, that's a successful season from him.
Yeah.
And he's been very healthy. And not to mention, last year in the playoffs, he was a big key in why the Knicks were striving when he was just so aggressive. When he plays the way he's playing, so aggressive, he's just very locked in and laser focused. The way this guy looks for his shots, he's ready, the way he's shooting the ball. And if you can get Mikel on board with that, then it again, it alleviates some pressure from Cat and Brunson. But OG has truly had a really good season. He's had more small pockets of when he's kind of like, you know, left the chat and then he's came back in and came back and joined the group or whatever. But I just think that what he's been doing on this Knicks team is truly worth watching, and it makes you appreciate him being here and being a Knickerbocker. So, you know, I just definitely shout out to him and just want him to stay healthy. And, you know, unfortunately, we're the Knicks are starting to have a man down situation. The Knicks did play the Los Angeles Clippers yesterday. They lost to them 126 to 113. The Knicks started off that game well. They started off strong. They came out aggressive. They had a nice hot start against the Clippers. First quarter outscored LA 33 to 20. And then the second half it became a man down situation. Clippers scored 34, the Knicks had 22. Third quarter, the Clippers outscored the Knicks 40 to 29. And it was a repeated pattern in the fourth quarter. They outscored the Knicks 32 to 29. Kawhi Leonard had a good game. They actually had a few guys that had a good game. Zubac, Powell, James Harden, Derek Jones Jr. contributed with 12. And the problem was Harden torched the Knicks, had 29 points, 10 assists. He scored 11 straight points late in the third quarter for them. And that sparked a 16 to 6 run for the Clippers. Then it was tag your it because Kawhi Leonard took over from there, scoring the first 10 Clipper points in the fourth. And that increased the lead to 18. He finished with 27.7 assists, 10 rebounds. Norman Powell, had 19 points for them. And then Zubac had a double-double, 18 points, 10 rebounds. Who else you had? And then Derek Jones Jr., like I said, had 12 points. So if you can't somehow, and the Knicks struggle against, the Knicks can play defense and play a team well, but when a team has a A1 player like a Harden, Kawhi in the case of against the Clippers, the Knicks have no answer for them and they can't stop them. The Knicks turned the ball over 10 times, which the Clippers converted to 18 points. That can't happen. Whereas the Knicks only scored 9 points off the Clippers' turnovers. So, you know, and for the Knicks, OG Anunoby, pretty solid game, 28 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Josh Hart, quiet game from him. He finished with 7 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Karl-Anthony Towns did everything in his power to try to keep this team in the game. Karl-Anthony Towns, and I don't want to skip over him. He's been doing his job.
Oh man.
Since Brunson's been out, he's been coming to the courts, whether it's at home in New York, or it's on the road, and he's been doing his job. So for people who had a lot to say about Carl Anthony Towns, zip it. He had 34 points, 14 rebounds. Mikal Bridges has 17 points, not enough. Cameron Payne had 15. He had a good game till he rolled his ankle.
Yeah.
And Tyler Kolek has 7 assists in that game as well. Played 18 minutes. The Knicks finished at 50% from the field goal line. They were 13 for 34 from the 3-point line at 38%, whereas the Clippers was 16 for 30 at 53%. They were 16 for 22 from the free throw line at 72%. They got out rebounded 45 to 38. The Knicks did have a lot of assists. They had 35 assists to Clippers 27. Clippers had 8 blocks. The Knicks had 1. Both teams finished with 4 steals. The Knicks had 10 turnovers. I had 10. I don't know why this says 9. And then both teams finished with 50 points in the paint. Anything in particular that stood out for you in that Clippers game?
Yeah. let's just say these last few games, we don't know which Nick player is gonna show up. I
Right.
mean, OG's been consistent, Cat's been consistent, and like I said, you get Josh, he gets 2 good games under his belt, and
He's streaky.
yeah, he's streaky. Mikal, yeah, he gave us 17 points and 9 assists. I think is that his high, his assist high.
I gotta look into it.
No, I'm not asking. I'm being dead serious.
No, I
Um,
know. I gotta look. I gotta check because you're probably right.
yeah, I mean, and like you said, Payne, he was playing, great. Gave us a nice production until he got hurt. Um, and again, the Knicks struggle with teams. They seem to struggle with teams that are over 500. They're 5-5 without Brunson, and those 5 wins came with teams that are under 500. So I mean, that's concerning.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very concerning for me because you're down your 3-point guards, ball handlers anyway, and you got 10 games left. The Clippers spoiled their chance to clinch a playoff berth. So things like that. It's like for me, you know, yeah, you're third, but you know you gotta make a push and maintain that third if you can. Like I said, the Lakers beat the Pacers, so that kind of put them, gave them a little wiggle room, not a lot, a little.
Right.
So you you just they didn't play with a sense of urgency. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like they were in it, but then they seemed to run out of gas. And they couldn't, withstand that run where, like you said, Harden scored. He shot off 11 straight points, and like you say, he was tagged. You're it. So they didn't have, defensively, they couldn't match, the Clippers, effort, and it just, went downhill. So things like that, it's like, without Brunson and Payne, he went down. So now who's gonna step up? And like I said, Cole, although he has 7 assists, but he was exposed, and you know
He's
because
been
he
needed.
don't have that experience, under his belt, he should have been playing more because you never know when you're gonna be put in a situation like that. So now he has to start from scratch. um you know so that was, again, outside of Cat. He had 34 and 13, but what good is those accolades if it don't result in a win?
Right.
So yeah, things are just like alarming and concerning. And with 10 games left, you wonder, you know how they gonna uh do in those 10 games.
Right.
And hopefully they can maintain that third seed.
Yeah. I mean, the Knicks were able to beat the Wizards, who've been lousy. They beat the shorthanded Mavericks, but for some reason they failed to beat teams that are in playoff contention.
Yeah.
The Knicks are now 11-8 against teams over 500 compared to 34-9 against teams under that mark. And to piggyback off of what you said, Wednesday's loss cost them a chance to clinch a playoff berth. So I think that the Knicks, I think you kind of hit a key point when you were just describing how the Knicks struggled against the Clippers. The defense isn't good because how many times have we seen that with Brunson on the Knicks, and the Knicks are doing well offensively, but defensively they can't get a damn stop.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we gotta continue using the excuse of like, well, they don't have Brunson and Mitch is on limited minutes and they don't have this. Like we understand that, but I think again, you still have out of a 7-8 man rotation, you have 8 guys still playing the game. So the like using the excuses of like, oh, well, we don't have this guy, we don't have that guy. Like, yeah, Payne did hurt his ankle, and that's unfortunate because the Knicks need him. You need that veteran experience, but I think that Jalen Brunson, when he does come back, he can't do too much like Josh Hart and try to be like, I'm gonna try to do everything so we could get wins under our belt. First of all, take your time coming back. Second of all, when you come back, the chemistry has to be rebuilt because it's broken. There's no chemistry there. And I think that that's part of the reason why the Knicks are struggling is that they've lost their identity and like who they've fought to come together and figure out who they were. And all of a sudden you look at them and you're like, who are you? Because in any sport, you're going to lose a player or two because of an injury. So if you do, you mean to tell me you just lose everything and everything goes out the window because he's not there? So, and it's unfortunate because you have both Cat and OG who are playing really well, but it's like other guys are not really stepping up to play or streaky, because Josh, I think you said it perfectly. Like sometimes in games, Josh is doing too much and that too much is becoming sloppy and it's making him play just erratic all over the place. And he's making silly, minute mistakes. And you're like, Josh, what are you doing? Slow down, gain composure. He starts getting all over the place and it's because he's doing too much. You got to settle, you know what I mean? And regroup. And the Knicks have to learn as a team how to like gain composure, you know what I mean? Regroup, recenter, come up with a game plan and execute it. And I don't feel like the Knicks do that. They a lot of times they just spiral. Now, there have been times where the Knicks have been down by 15, 20 points. They were able to come back and come down, bring the lead back down and cut into leads. But a lot of times you don't see that. The Knicks just can't get down. The Knicks will be down by 20. They'll hit a 3, hit a 2. They may get as close as 14. Then here comes a team going another mini run or somebody who they just can't stop will just continue to keep scoring against them. But I think that it is a bit concerning, like you said, like, and I've said this throughout the season. That's something that bothers me with them. Like the Knicks, I said this before. I've said this like 2 or 3 times now. The Knicks tend to play good against teams that they're evenly matched with, or teams that are below them. They seem to play pretty deep. They can contain and keep up with them for the most part. They've had a few slip-ups where you're like, yo, you lost to Chicago twice. You lost to Charlotte. You know what I mean? But when the Knicks play against teams that are above 500, they struggle. And this was an issue last year as well. Like when you had the gritty players here too, it was an issue. We couldn't beat Boston. You couldn't beat Dallas. There's probably 2 other teams I can't think of off the top of my head that the Knicks struggled against. And it's the same this year. You can't beat Cleveland. You can't beat Boston. Who did you beat that was you beat Denver. You beat Milwaukee.
You can't beat OKC.
You can't beat OKC. Right. So you're struggling against these better teams. And I think when you look at the bigger picture is this roster we'll have moves being made to it in the off season, because this is not it. It's not it. It's not it. This is not sustainable. It's not going to last. This is not going to get you to an Eastern Conference Finals. This is not. And when I say this is not it, I'm not saying it's a complete bust because the Knicks don't have enough to get there this season. What I'm saying is this group can't stay together to keep projecting towards moving towards that Eastern Conference Finals and championship contention.
Yeah, yeah.
So the front office is definitely going to be making moves because this is not it, you know. So I think that with the Knicks, I don't know. I feel like they've just been like lately in like a drought, you know. And it's like you said, you can't do this win one and lose one, you know, win two, lose two, three. Where's the, like you said, where's the sense of urgency, the better effort, like looking like you're trying to, like certain teams you see now, they're making a playoff push. I don't really see that with the Knicks because you're in third, but you're barely holding on in third. The Knicks are barely holding on to that third seed spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, okay, if the playoffs started today, who would the Knicks be playing? What, Milwaukee? Or is it
Detroit, if it was yeah, they'll be playing Detroit.
no, I think they'd be playing Milwaukee.
So I'm six.
They're in sixth.
Oh well, yeah, oh, cause they lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just lost two. So
Mm,
yeah, they would be playing Milwaukee. Okay, here's the thing though. The Knicks beat Milwaukee what, four times um so far this season? But yeah, they won four in a row against Milwaukee. Two of those coming from this season after they won. I think it was 116 to 94 in November and then 140 to 106 in January. Lillard is out. I think they found a blood clot in one of his calves or his
yeah.
legs.
Deep vein thrombosis. Yep.
Health scare. You got to go out and take care of that because if not, you won't make any more money in basketball with that. Um, Giannis is day to day. Jericho Sims, he's out with the thumb injury. Bobby Portis, what was he suspended for? Drugs? Okay, there you go. Suspension. Won't be playing against the Knicks. But the thing is, and I'm not even expecting the Knicks to blow them out, but can you beat them?
Yeah.
Because just because all those guys is out, you got guys out, that don't mean anything. And when it comes to the playoffs, it's a different animal. It's a different ball game. Giannis is on a different level. So I don't know. I think that the Knicks have they definitely have some changes and things that they need to make as far as shaking up the roster because this is not it. The Knicks continue. Why do you think it is though that the Knicks have been struggling against teams over 500?
Well, first of all, we lack depth. You know, the bench is constantly getting outscored. You know, that's and we touched on that on our last one. You know, they're like tied with the Lakers as far as your bench points. You
Mm-hmm.
know, out of what we got 32 teams, you're like dead last.
Bench points,
You know,
yeah.
you compare them, you know, to a lot of teams, and you know, again, the bench is just constantly getting outscored now. People say, "Oh, well, they don't have a bench," but you know, and then, you know, as a coach, you know, they when I guess in practice they not, you know, the coach sees something. Well, then guess what? Get rid of them if they can't give you production. You know, that's something that needs to be explored. You know, come next season, you gotta have a bench, man. When you compare them, you know, the Knicks to a lot of teams, it's just not. There's no comparison. Put it like that. Because then they're giving you on a nightly basis 12 points, 16 points. that 22 points, that's just not going to cut it. You know, yeah, they were 24-12 with the Clippers, but the prior to that they were outscored. So that's one of the reasons why they just can't seem to be above 500. In Brunson's absence, no depth. Um, they had great ball movement. In that Dallas game. Even the Clippers, they hung in it. And they just had a defensive collapse. Um, the turnovers, like you touched on, that hurt them. Although tips like, oh, we had 10 turnovers, which isn't a lot. But as a coach, that's not a lot for him. It was just the
Right.
points. Well, isn't that part of why the points were scored because of the turnovers?
Right.
So yeah, that's he sees it one way. And he's the coach, he has every right to. But again, like the turnovers, so the carelessness, you know, so it's just a multitude of things, and that's next season they definitely have to look internally and try to show up, get some depth.
Yeah, I was reading something about the NBA increasing the salary caps for teams, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect the Knicks being able to bring over or acquire players over here. And I bring that up because the Knicks have to change the bench. Like
Oh,
to me, I would get rid of Precious Achua. I probably would get rid of Cameron Payne. I probably would get rid of Shamit. And the reason why I say that is because those guys are like good role players. But the problem with the Knicks is that they don't have like a guy or two who could come off the bench and get you a basket, who could
yeah.
score. Who we have now is good for like catching. They pass the ball, they run around, they get to their spot, they may, bounce past it to whoever, chest pass. They may take a shot. That's friendly basketball. That's not go-getter basketball.
Friendly basketball.
It is. It's very friendly. And it's like this is not a high school, middle school game where we need guys who's just gonna go out there, oh, this guy's pretty good. He can like that's not gonna move us forward. And you look at other guys, case in point, we played Dallas. Marshall was getting buckets at whatever cost. Those are the kind of
Yeah.
players you need on this team. Guys who he coming off the bench, but he could score. He don't need to necessarily get the ball and then he gonna just chuck up a shot. I want to see somebody who's gonna drive to the basket, who could stop and pop, who could spin around, who could give you the hezzy, who could give you the footwork, the shoulders, the head hesitation, and then get his baskets. The Knicks don't have that. And that to me is a big part of what hurts them. And then not having the depth, opposing teams are able to read the Knicks very well. Do the Knicks sometimes shock some teams? Yes, and they come out and they're like, damn, they came out heavy hitters and we wasn't expecting that. Yes, the Knicks sometimes are very hot. Everybody's knocking down shots. Of course, it works. But I think a lot of times if you're the opposing team, you look at the Knicks and you're like, you can dissect their offense and you damn sure could dissect their defense because the defense is non-existent
Yeah.
unless you get OG Anunoby, who's aggressive and he's a pest. But a lot of times the Knicks are very readable. Like teams could really pinpoint and figure out how to play the Knicks, or they can be close throughout the majority of the game until the Knicks finally pull away. And even teams that the Knicks should be like even beaten by 10, they barely could do that. How many games have we seen where it takes Brunson at the last couple of seconds to knock a shot down and win us the game? So there's a disconnect here within this roster. And I don't think that just changing one or two guys, trading one or two guys is going to be the answer. Yes, the Knicks, we can't turn back the hands of times. Yes, they traded a lot of picks to get Mikal. I really think that Mikal, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I think he'll be better next season for the Knicks. He's finding his rhythm here, and I think he'll be able to really find himself and really be a star for this team next season. And hopefully, maybe, I don't know, he can do it in the playoffs. But I think next season will definitely be more of his season with this team. But again, when you look at the bench, you really only have like Deuce McBride. And
Yeah.
Deuce doesn't really have, you see him do it sometimes where he can dribble, hit you with the crossover. That's not really his game. Deuce is more like, all right, I'm gonna catch it, I'm gonna shoot it, and
Mhm.
that's what he does. And he got a lot better with his shot selections, his selections, and knocking down the shots. But that's not enough. So I think that the bench needs to be reevaluated. And then when you look at the whole, I don't know, the whole center issue that's still kind of like in question as well. Yeah, you have Mitchell Robinson, but Cat's not really a center. You need to answer that as well. Um, and yeah, I think just, again, there's a couple of guys that I think this team could get rid of that can be for the betterment of this team. But as far as I see it, the front office is looking and they're like, yeah, we got to make changes. This isn't it. So we'll see what the Knicks say. Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises said, I see what you did there. Yeah, you see that title. Because the Clippers were definitely a pain, and it's painful to see another man go down in Cameron Payne. Hope he gets back soon. Not rushing him, but I hope he gets back soon. Shout out to Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises. He's also a panel member on the Queen's Court. Shout out to you, Tony. Nostalgic Nick. Salute to Knicks Chicks. Salute to you.
Salute.
He said one more to clinch the third. Yeah, they should have did it yesterday though. That's the problem. Like we keep one more, one more. Like, this is not a little league thing. And I'm not coming at you, nostalgic Nick. I'm just saying, like we got to have a better, higher standard for this team. Like the same way we want more and better, we can still want that while having patience. But it doesn't mean that you have to kind of like, good game, good game, guys. Enough of the pacifying. Like, do better.
Yeah, for sure.
Sign a point guard in the center. Yeah, the Knicks need a solid backup point guard too. Because I think you need someone to truly back Brunson, and then you need Kolick as the third option, just in case if anything happens.
But
And I thought the Knicks learned their lesson from last year when you had the injuries.
exactly, I
Like
just
the front office, I really thought that they was gonna use last year as a lesson learned and say, okay, we gotta make sure that we have the proper backups for several positions because you never know. You got lucky last year that Brunson stayed healthy. He got hurt at the end of that Pacers series, but still, you got lucky that you had Isaiah Hartenstein to cover Mitch, who's very injury prone. You've been lucky so far that you've had Carl Anthony Towns stay healthy. So it's like you gotta like utilize that season last year as a lesson learned and say, okay, this is what we need to do to make sure we're on our toes and we're ready. You don't want to be looking like Dallas out here. You know what I mean? At the rate they're going, you're gonna be picking guys from the G League, if not from the streets. And speaking of the G League, the Westchester Knicks made the playoffs. Pacome, he's been playing really well for them. 25 points. I think he had in their last game. So yeah. Track Monkey salutes that OG is having a career year. Yeah, he is. OG's just on a different level. Him and Cat are like laser focused.
yeah.
I think that they need minus Brunson, they need guys who are on that level. Like that eye of the tiger, like how Cleveland has right now, how Boston and Tatum and Brown have, how Giannis, when he was won that championship, that Jokic, like that's the kind of eye of the tiger, that laser focus. I see that in OG and I see it in Cat. And I see it in Brunson too, but they need the other guys to jump on board. This sometime-ish, the streakiness, the inconsistencies. You're not here with me because I'm putting in. I'm in here 10 toes down doing my job,
Yeah.
coming in here everyone. I don't care if we home away, I'm doing what I need to do. And Mikel, you giving me 15, 16, 17, maybe 14. You're not there yet. The talent level is there, but the laser focus of like getting better and doing what we need to do to gather up and collect these wins, you're not there. Same thing with Josh.
Yes. Yeah. Josh. Yeah. He's another one.
Yeah, the talent level is absolutely there, and I'm not knocking them individually as a player, but that focus isn't there of like enough with the coasting, because that's what I feel like the Knicks have done. Like last year was different, but I feel like this year they kind of you've been coasting. Like if you're gonna win 50 wins,
Yeah, and it's like they just can't seem to get like over that hump. When it seems like because they won two in a row, so you say, you would like you would ride up that high,
right?
and somehow like things
They do it
creep
once a
in.
season. They go on a 9-game win streak, and then the Knicks can't give you another 5+ wins in a season. Go
Yeah,
16 win streak, 7, 8. It doesn't hurt to do it again. There's no violation in the National Basketball Association rules that say you can't go on another winning game streak. Like just
mhm,
do it. And it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be challenging. I think Tibbs said, "Oh yeah, we came off a back-to-back and the Clippers." Tibbs miss me with that.
yeah. You said miss me with that.
Seriously, like miss me with that
No,
because it's like enough. Stop with the excuses. Kolick is getting emergency reps right now. Yeah. Listen, I'd rather him get the reps in now at this last leg of the season than to be thrown in the playoffs. And then he's like, that's even more pressure, with people like, yo, don't mess this up. Salute to Eddie C.
salute.
He agrees. He said, we have issue with teams above 500. Yeah, this has been the case with the Knicks since even last season. The Knicks have maybe 2 teams, 3 teams that they beat that's over 500. Everyone else, they can't figure out how to beat them. And then it hurts even more when they lose against teams like Atlanta, Charlotte, Detroit, Chicago, who they lost to twice before they finally beat them. When you lose to teams like that, it just really makes you scratch your head like, what's going on with this team? Are they okay? It can't happen. Track Monkey said Tom said he's going with DeLeon Wright at point guard in the next game against the Bucks over Kolick. We'll
Oh
see.
wow,
We'll see. I'm looking forward to that if that does happen.
he might because of his experience, as far so he might. But I
Yeah.
mean, you could see and see how that works out, and maybe that'll be best because it's not so much pressure on Kolek, and then he could come in and do what he do. So that might be a smart move.
Yeah. And give him the playing time. It doesn't hurt to try, Tom. I know he's all about his trust system, but you got to give guys the opportunity to play to see what they can do. Parking them at the end of the bench is not sustainable. It doesn't help. It hurts the team, actually.
Yeah, it
You're
do.
wasting good talent just sitting at the end of the bench. So it doesn't hurt, to see what guys can do on this team. The ball is moving and the defense is better. The ball is moving a lot better. The defense is okay. Has it gotten better? Slightly, but it's not good. It's not good. And that's why I said I think the Knicks need either a really good defensive minded coach here, or defensive coach, or the Knicks need to go in the direction of a successful college coach who they're huge on defense, because the Knicks have no understanding of that.
And the Clippers scored 40 points in the third quarter. So how
Right.
good was that defense
This
then?
is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whatever way Tom is doing it, it's not working. The defense is weak and it's vulnerable, and teams are able to pick it apart. The Knicks get exposed because their defense is just not good. A lot of times, I purposely, when I'm watching a game, I'm literally looking at where guys are standing on the Knicks,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and I'm looking, and I'm like, look at it could be Josh, OG, it could be Deuce. They're like looking at their man that they see in the corner, but they're inching in to help out with
Yeah.
help defense. That doesn't work for you guys. That doesn't work for y'all because you don't know how to get back to the corner when the guy that you was watching is in the corner about to shoot the
Yep.
shortest three. That doesn't work for the Knicks.
Guys camping out in the corner.
The Knicks have no concept of man-to-man defense at all. They're not good defensively. So you need to get somebody in here who says, I'm talking about in practices, run it back again. Boop, whistle, run it back again. That's not what you, this is the problem with y'all. Y'all not running the defense right. When we watching film, freeze it right there. I need to be in the room. Freeze it right there. See where you standing? Y'all do that every game. And we're going over the defensive drills, but saying this is what I need from you. This is what I'm demanding from you. Not we're just running it just to run it in practice. Because sometimes I think the practices are just runs to keep in shape, runs to kind of not, let's work on getting better at this. How many times have you seen, because I haven't seen enough of pick and roll being used with Cat or Mitchell Robinson. So this is what I'm saying. Like, what are y'all doing in the practices? I feel like the Knicks practices are just runs. Y'all just running to try to just, all right, well, we're gonna play against the bench to see guys. No, that way's not working. That way is not working. You have to bring in somebody here who's very defensive minded, who says run it back again. Because this is what hurts you guys. Your defense is weak. The Knicks, they don't. And the thing with the Knicks is the players individually could play good defense. They don't play good defense collectively as a team.
As a team, correct.
So yeah, OG, you good. You could get steals. You got quick hands, and Josh has deflections at times. You see Deuce, but that's not winning you games. It's losing you games. The Knicks defense is just not good. And then, I've heard the whole, well, Jalen Brunson doesn't play good defense and Karl Anthony Towns. Here's my thing. You could have guys on teams or girls on a basketball team who are not that good defensively, but I truly believe with the right defensive coach, they're going to push you to be better. Just like if you have a player who's not good from the free throw line, we're going to keep working on that until you get it right. You may not be perfect from it, but you'll be damn better than what you were. So if the goal is to get better and get past the second round to the Eastern Conference Finals to become championship contenders, that means we all got to pitch in together as a team and do what we need to do and get better. If you playing with a player like Kobe or LeBron, they're not going to let you slack.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, yo, I'm going to stay back in the gym with you. You know what I mean? I'm going to let you know, yo, you need to hit the weight room. You need to do this. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm going to help you and not just tell you what to do. And I don't feel like on the Knicks, the correction, there hasn't been that change yet defensively. The defense is not good. We haven't had an issue offensively. It's the defense.
Yeah, yeah.
So until they come back with better defense and prove that they can play good defense against teams, then, I can be like, oh, okay, yeah, the Knicks played, good defense, but I don't know. When will PJ see action? Well, the little action I did see him play, weren't the Knicks getting blown out? I can't remember what game that was. It was a couple of games ago. And I was like, why did they put him in? He just was like running up and down the floor. I was like, why did Tom do that?
What was that? Was that the Charlotte game?
I don't remember what game it was. He came in for like a couple of minutes, and I just said, what was the point? We struggle because of poor coaching adjustments and poor coaching at times. Our bench is being outscored so badly because Tibbs not playing his bench much. I think it's a combination of that, and I think that the kind of bench players we have,
Yeah.
they're not really fitting the bill. It's not all on Tibbs. It's the kind of players we have. They're not bad individually, and I think that they have the potential to be good to collectively coming off the bench, no matter what combo you put them in. But I think the bench players that we have to come in with starters. He can't have them come in as a group with maybe Mitchell Robinson or whoever, and then they rock out. You can't, because the offense becomes stagnant. Hot potato ball. That's what they play. It's not basketball. It's hot potato ball. I'm gonna pass it to the left. You pass it back to me. I'm gonna pass it to the right. You pass it back to me. I may try to get it into Cat. Cat may. That's hot potato. Front office must revamp the bench. Absolutely, they have to, and I'm very positive that they will. Rondu 1973 salute said Knicks 3-point defense is not that good. It's horrible.
Yeah.
There's no concept of perimeter defense at all with the Knicks. It's horrible. And that's another really painful point for this team. If a team starts getting hot, you got a player who's hot, he knocking down threes from everywhere. Forget it. Lonnie Meek said they sold us on the premises that Tibbs is a defensive coach. Yeah, because when Tibbs first got here, that was the premises with him. Tibbs is defensive minded. He's a defensive minded coach, and I haven't seen that here. I've seen in small batches this team, whether it was last year, the year before last, this season, where they've been good, but there's no consistency. They do it for 1 to 2, maybe 3 games. Then the next 3, 4 games, it goes away. Poof,
Yeah.
magic goes away. Then
Old
they may do it. Yeah, the old habits creep back in. There's no consistency on this team, and it hurts them. It really does. So, I think that this is something that this team really truly has to work on. Let's talk about our predictions for the next 2 games. The Knicks play Milwaukee tomorrow at 8 in Milwaukee, and then they're back home on Sunday against Portland. Your thoughts on the next 2 games? Milwaukee has lost their last 2. They lost to Sacramento and the Lakers. Oh, their last 3. No, they don't lost a couple.
No, they lost 2 and they won 2.
Yeah. They lost. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. I was looking at it wrong. Yeah. So they just beat they beat the Kings and the Lakers, and then they lost to Phoenix and Denver. So
they put up a good fight, with Denver, considering, they didn't have Dame and Giannis in that Suns game. They only lost by 2. So
yeah.
because of their depth and their bench, I don't know. I think they're gonna give the Knicks. I feel that they're gonna give them a nice run. But I'm a diehard, so I'm gonna still, this one they could take. It's that Portland game because those cats is young, and I want to say 1-1, um, but I'm gonna go 2-0. And I know because I'm biased, I'm gonna go 2-0, but one of those games I'm not 100% um confident, if that's a good
Mhm.
word.
Right.
But the die hard fan in me, I'm just gonna go 2-0.
Yeah, I'm 1-1 because
I knew you
I'm
would.
confident the Knicks can beat Milwaukee. You've already beat them. If you lose to them, concerning. But I do want to see them get revenge on Portland and um beat them. No, we beat Portland the last time, right?
Yeah.
Or did we lose to them? Yeah. So, but no, I do agree with those teams, Portland being a young team and Milwaukee still having the depth. But I think overall the Knicks have to get some wins under their belt. They have to get they have okay, so they have Milwaukee tomorrow, Portland Sunday, and then next week Tuesday they play Philly, and then Wednesday they play Cleveland, Saturday Atlanta. See, and here we go with a back to back. Saturday Atlanta and then Sunday against Phoenix. Games they should be winning.
Atlanta, they lost to Cleveland and the Celtics, which was we know where they stand. But prior to that, they won 4 in a row. So and these Grizzlies is above 500. Um, Nuggets, same thing. So that's that's going to be a nice matchup for them. That Portland game,
Yeah,
um, you know, they did lose to the Knicks, back in the last game, and again that may be a revenge game for them, you
right.
know. Uh, but I'm still gonna go 2-0.
Yeah, we'll see.
Not confident.
Um, yeah, we'll see because with the Knicks, anything is possible. I know as far as injury report, campaign is out. You have Deuce out, and then Brunson's out. I heard or read rather that Brunson is stated to be back before the playoffs.
I heard
Do
that
you
Huck
want
Porty
Brunson?
expected to try to come back as well.
Oh, good. They'll
Yeah.
need him. Yeah. Do you want to see them play a couple of games before the playoffs, or
No, not really. The longer they can stay out, because that way they know the scheme, they know the plays, um, and they watching from the sidelines at practice. So no, not really. I would rather just Brunson just take his time, and the more you can heal, the better you'll be for doing the playoff run. And because, like they said, Huck Porter, he's a true center. Precious is not.
yeah,
So you need that. And then Mitch, he's still, not on back to backs. Not that Huck Porter would be, but the more you can show up, that depth, the better, the further they can go.
yeah? The Knicks need to have as many options as possible for the postseason because that was their issue last year because guys got injured and plus injuries prior to the playoffs. They didn't really have many options and go-tos that, not even just Tiz, but as a fan, you was like, oh, you could put him in. I think the only guy that came in, I mean, and granted, he's a veteran, has experience, and he actually showed up was Alex Burks. He
Yeah.
actually came in and did really well. So, and this is why I say you can have players. The Knicks have so many options that you can have a Deuce McBride, you can have a campaign. You can have a Mikal Bridges come in and be an X factor in any game during the series of the playoffs. But of course, you need guys to be healthy. But I think you also need to have options. So of course, I would love to see Huck Porty come back as well. I think he'll be a great backup for this team. So we'll see. And rounding off, the Liberty, I don't know, I sent you the video. They just invested in a long awaited, they announced today that they're um, planning a new dedicated practice facility in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. That'll open in 2027. It's a 75,000 square foot facility, and I have two full practice courts, an indoor and another court outside. And then among the other features is a two-storage training room, two family lounges, and a studio where the players can make an appointment for their hair, nails, and makeup. Clara Wusai, part owner, said, "We are a player first organization and investing in health and wellness has always been a priority for us." Shout out to Clara Wusai and her husband, who own both the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Liberty. And you know what? This is how I feel about Clara Wu and her husband. They they're like your boss at a job. You perform, I'll get you a bonus. You don't perform, I'm gonna still ride by you and stand by you. But the Brooklyn Nets haven't done anything. And I think they were banking on them to do something. Not to mention, they put their money in a pot and buying the Liberty when Dolan threw them away like a piece of trash. Threw them away like a piece of trash. So look at what happens. They're reaping the rewards. Not to mention, I saw there was some back and forth on Twitter. People talking about, well, how does that help the WNBA? Questioning Clara Wusai and her husband investing in a new facility for the New York Liberty. It's not about how does it help the WNBA. It's about how it helps their team that they bought, that they own. I think
Exactly.
people are missing that picture. Like they have to share a facility with the Brooklyn Nets players. They don't want to do that. They should be allowed to have their own facility.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. And
Yeah,
and and a lot of owners are doing that, investing in. It's an investment in your players, and when you invest in them, we're gonna reap the rewards eventually. So it's a
right,
win for everybody.
right. Exactly. And
Yeah.
and that's exactly it. Like they're investing in their players, they're investing in the team that nobody else wanted to buy. When the Liberty were up for sale, they stepped in and said, "Well, we'll buy him." And I truly believe they didn't say, "Well, we'll buy him" in the mind frame of like, "We'll just take him because nobody else is taking him," or "We'll just take him because the price is at a good price." I think they were like, "There's something there." So while the rest of you were sleeping, they, you know what I mean? So, yeah, shout out to the Liberty for investing in the facilities and the players. Um, I don't know if you knew about Brianna Stewart, how she underwent a minor scope surgery
Yeah,
for her
right.
right meniscus. Yeah, it went successful, so that's good. Um, Sources are saying that she'll be back on the court for training camp, which begins April 27th. And right now, it's unclear about whether Benijah Laney Hamilton will be cleared to return by the time the Liberty start training camp. That's concerning.
Yeah.
I honestly, I thought she played a hell of a game in Unrival. I don't think she should have went. Benijah.
Well,
I mean, it's risky for all players because anybody could have gotten injured, and then now you it set you back for the season. It happens, you know. But
yeah.
I'm just like, it sucks. But now here's the thing: the Liberty lost Courtney Vandersloot. She opted out to go back to Chicago. Is she from Chicago?
I'm not sure. I know they both found her wife played in Chicago.
Yeah, like she's been with them for years, but she went back to Chicago. So that'll be interesting to see her play with Angel Reese. And that was a concern for me because I was like, you call her old lady Sloop, but she's really good.
You know, she balled
So
in the rival. She
I'm
was really,
rival,
yeah.
but don't sleep on me. I'm in shape. I'm balling.
I
I'm
still
getting in shape for
left
the
in
rest
the tank.
and the tank, right? So my concern was, okay, you lose her in that veteran point guard experience. I'm like, so what are they gonna do?
They got
And well, yeah, that's why they got Natasha Cloud.
yeah.
And then that was another reason why they went and got Isabel Harrison. So now you have another person for that backcourt for the depth. Because I believe she plays, I don't know, I don't think she plays center, but she's like a power forward because she's really tall as well. And then I don't care what anybody say, this next player gets the same amount of ratings and numbers as Caitlin Clark, if not better. People forget it. People, if you're not a New York Liberty fan, people sleep on her. Maureen Johannes is very popular.
Oh yeah.
She's super quiet and humble, and she lets her game do all the talking. And it's so unfortunate that she wasn't able to play with them last season. It would have been nice to see her get that championship with them. Even though technically she's still considered the Liberty still, they never lost the rights to her. But I don't know if you ever noticed on like Instagram, any type of social media, Facebook, TikTok, when the Liberty post her, the numbers are the same numbers Caitlin Clark gets. Because the people from France, from Paris, ride for her hard. When she wasn't there last year, I used to see in the comments, please bring Marine back. Please bring her back. We want to see her on the TV playing in New York. They want to see her playing. So Jonathan Cole did his big one and said, let's bring Marine back. So, which is needed. You need her back on the floor. My question to you is, can the Liberty run it back this year and take it all? Because they're not predicted to take it all. They weren't predicted last year either. People was like, there's no way they're going to win. They have that New York curse. But
I
a
think
lot of people are already saying they don't see the Liberty doing a repeat.
I think so because they upgraded their roster. Like with the players that they brought in, you know, Stewie, she took got that procedure, and we know Sabrina, she had her procedure, so they help they're gonna come in healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and barring anything, and just the additions that they made, I can see them definitely running it back. Yeah, we lost Sloop, but they brought in, they didn't miss a beat. And just the addition, JJ, everybody's coming in healthy. They're gonna be hungrier because they want to run it back. So yeah, I can definitely see them being right there, vying for that championship. Sure.
I don't know. Originally, for me, I was a little like, damn, the Liberty aren't really making any moves. Because these moves didn't happen till recently. Like I'm talking about when every other team was making moves. I don't know, maybe they was waiting, watching and seeing, and then Jonathan said, okay, we're gonna do what we need to do. But sometimes I think you don't need to make a bunch of major moves. Because why break something that's not, you know,
Yeah,
try to
yeah.
fix something that's not broken. So um I don't know. I'm curious to see what the Liberty do this season. I told you about this one podcast. I don't remember who the guy was. I would have to look on our message history. I sent you the link one time, but it just randomly popped up on my YouTube feed. And he was breaking down Unrivaled and kind of talking about what he did was talking about each team in the WNBA. And then he was, so happened that episode was about the New York Liberty. So he was talking about how in Unrivaled, he said, now he had some points. He had some valid points, but a lot of what he was saying, I'm like, dude, you couldn't have watched this girl play. He's
Oh
basically
yeah.
trying to say in a nutshell, I don't know how Brianna Stewart is popular and famous. He said she's not that good. He said I
Oh
watched plenty of rival games. He said she was missing easy shots. Now you and I have both said this watching Unrivaled. We was like, yo, Stewie's off. Like she's missing easy baskets, just nothing compared to how Nafisa Collier was playing, or hell, even Courtney Vandersloot. Um, but he was like, and I don't even know how did they win the championship. He was like, because Sabrina's shooting was awful in the playoffs. It wasn't awful in the playoffs. It was awful in one, maybe two games.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Then he was saying, you know, he said, Brianna, he was like, how did they win if she can't even make easy baskets and unrivaled? But I think that he overlooks that well before she even got to the WNBA, she was really good in college at UConn. But even when she was in Seattle, she was really good.
Yeah.
And then me personally, and I felt like this when Kat came to the Knicks, you know when a player is good, but you don't realize how good they are till they come to your team. And then you're like, damn, they good. That's how I felt with Brianna Stewart. Like I always knew of Stewie, always admired her game, but I never really like got to see her ins and outs because I'm not a Seattle Storm. Why would I be watching Seattle Storm games? The only
Exactly.
time I was really paying attention to is when I was watching highlights or when she was playing against the Liberty, and I was like, okay. And again, I knew her what she could do, but it wasn't until she came to the Liberty that I was like, wow, how many times have she bailed them out using them long arms, catching back passes that's damn near going out of bounds. And we were like, how does she do that? So I think that when you're not really like, you don't have to necessarily be a fan of hers, but when you don't really watch the W or you don't watch the Liberty, you're not going to know what she's doing.
Exactly.
You can rewatch plenty of games and be like, all right, I'm a back down. I see what you're talking about now.
And also, you got to take into account during rival, she wasn't 100%.
Right.
That's why she opted for the procedure. But she gave it a go because I guess she feels she's one of the founders. You know, let me lend my support by not just being a founder, but play in it, so I can get the gist of 3-on-3. So she wasn't healthy during the unrivaled season, and
Yeah.
nice that she had the procedure so she can come in healthy and and be at full strength when the season kicks off. So it makes sense, but he's not a true WNBA watcher.
Yeah, I said that. I was like, it's no way that this guy, because I'm like, these things are just not adding up for me. But the Liberty do kick off their season. The first game is Saturday, May 17th. They'll be playing the Vegas Aces at 1. That's also their ring ceremony. And then their next game is Thursday against Chicago. And then they play Saturday, May 24th against Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. There was a whole bunch of talk about Indiana getting all the nationally televised games. And Nafisa Collins spoke up and said, that's crazy that you didn't even give the bulk of them to New York, who just won the championship. Not only that, New York is a huge market. I can understand like Vegas, yeah, they ran it back and did a two-peat, but Vegas is not a market like New York.
New York, exactly.
Or in the case of Indiana, they're not a case because honestly, if Indiana didn't have Caitlin Clark, they're not a huge market either.
No.
So I get people who say the Caitlin Clark effect, but I'm so exhausted from it. I'm so drained from it that I'm like, yo, do y'all realize there's so many other players that's playing in the W and all they know is Caitlin Clark? Listen, be well. I wish them well. You know, a lot of people are predicting them to go all the way, which is like, wow. I don't know how they're going to do that because you got to get past Minnesota,
Yeah.
Vegas. You're going to have to get past New York and hell, even Seattle, who fell short but played a pretty good season. So I don't know. It's just exhausting, the whole Caitlin Clark effect. And it's too much. It's too much. But yeah, that's I'm looking forward to the New York Liberty this season. Um, I'm gonna do my best to go to at least 2 games. I gotta actually write down that list of the games you told me you're gonna go to. But I will be tuned in and watching. If I gotta get League Pass or whatever I need to get to watch the games live. And we'll be reporting on them anyway, right? So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't want to say they're gonna repeat and run it back yet until after I see a couple of games. I got to see how they're playing and gelling, and not the first 5 games. I'm talking about like after that, and see how they're playing. So we'll see. Shout out to the chat, everybody that's joined us today. Tony Crow from Knicks and Bruises, Nostalgic Nick, Track Monkey, Eddie C, Rondu 1973, Lonnie Meeks, Just Knicks. I like that name with the Z at the end. And those of you who are joining us who are not in the chat, shout out to you. The replay gang, shout out to you as well. Do us a favor, hit the like button before you leave out. If you're watching this now, hit the like button as well. Subscribe to the channel as well. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And we'll be back on Saturday to recap this next game that the Knicks are playing. They're playing. Yeah, so we'll recap the Bucks game. And then, yeah, I believe Steph in the gang, Jarrell, Jeff Clafter from Happily Ever Clafter, Jarrell from Die Hard Giants. Got to ask Jarrell about that acquisition of Russell and see his thoughts on that. And to Mr. Like Button himself, Ajay. Shout out to them. They're coming up next at 9. Shout out to Dope Soul Sports and Knicks Talk. And go check out Steph. She did a really dope interview with Dexter Henry. Nice to see her on there. And nice to see Dexter getting other Knicks content creators on his channel. So shout out to him as well. I thought that was a really good interview. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, let's go Knicks.
That sounded convincing.
Let's go Knicks. Let's go Knicks.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys on Saturday morning at 10.